Hello and welcome. Hope you're having a good day. Hope things are going well for you. Hope you had a great weekend. And I know that we did at Community Baptist Church, had a great weekend. If you've been following my page or you've been listening to anything that I've been saying over the last month, I have been talking a lot about Islam and Sharia law. Listen to me very carefully. I'm going to talk about Sharia law and Muslims and Islam very extensively in this podcast. It's probably going to take me a couple of different podcasts to really get out everything that I want to talk about. And I just want you to better understand what Sharia law is. What is it that they are pushing for? What is it that they are wanting to do? Let me just say this first. If you haven't already subscribed to our channel, if you haven't already hit follow on our pages, I would encourage you to do so. And also share. Whether you share it on YouTube, whether you share it on Twitter, whether you share it on Facebook, wherever you Instagram, wherever you share it, it helps us get out our message. Unfortunately, across social media platforms, they don't like podcasts like this because we talk about Islam and we talk about things that they don't want really getting out, to the public. In Michigan, in Florida, and other parts of the nation, I am seeing a growing and very rapidly population of Muslims. Not just them coming here to America, but also people being converted to Islam. And most don't even understand what it is. I'm seeing liberal women promoting and pushing for Islam. The Democrat Party is being overtaken by Muslims. And they don't even understand what it is that they believe, what it is that Islam is, what Sharia law really is. Is there a difference between Sharia law and constitutional law? Is Islam a peaceful religion? Most don't understand. I was watching a video just this past week of a preacher who was from Egypt, and he was talking about, he's a Christian preacher now, Christian pastor, and he was talking about in Egypt, back hundreds of years ago, it was a Christian nation. But today it's 90% Muslim, and now they have Sharia law. When you look at Iran, when you look at Iraq, they have Sharia law. And what happens is Sharia law, it is the law of the land. It is a religion that is controlling the nation, is what Sharia law is. And I'm going to dive into the difference between Sharia law and the Constitution. And so let's talk about that today. And that's what I want you and I to have a discussion about. And of course, if you have any questions, please ask. If you have any comments, please, and I'll try to reach out. We're going to talk about the Constitution versus Sharia law. Two opposite visions for America, okay? One Constitution, one nation. The Constitution is freedom, equality, rights, limited government, we the people. Sharia law is religious rule, no free speech, unequal rights, government control, and its divine authority over citizens. And so I don't want Sharia law. I want the Constitution to remain the supreme law of the land. And so we're going to dive into and we're going to look at the difference between the Constitution versus Sharia law. Because, ladies and gentlemen, there is a very, very stark difference between Sharia law and the Constitution. Very stark. So that's what we're going to talk about, the Constitution versus Sharia law. Two fundamentally different visions for civil government. And ladies and gentlemen, they're as different as you can get. I mean, they are not alike whatsoever. And that's what I'm hoping that you, by the time this podcast is over today, I'm hoping that you will understand the differences between Sharia law and the Constitution. So let's look at a couple of things. Before we begin, I want to define the issue, okay? The Constitution protects religion. It does not permit religious government. This discussion is about Sharia as civil law, not peaceful Muslims practicing their faith privately. So I want you to understand that. I'm not attacking people. I am not attacking anyone. I don't want any religion to be the governing body of America. I'm a Baptist pastor, but I don't want the Baptists to be the governing rule. We have a constitution, and people should be able to worship freely. If you want to go to a Baptist church, you should be able to go to a Baptist church. If you want to go to a Catholic church, you should be able to go. If you want to go to a Pentecostal church or a Presbyterian church or a Methodist church, or if you don't want to go to church at all, You have that right as an American citizen. Under Sharia law, you don't. So the problem that I have with Muslims, it's not, necessarily that, practicing their faith privately. I believe that anyone should be able to practice their faith privately. The problem is that is not what Islam is. Whenever they come in and they get control and they get Sharia law to become the law of the land, and they will, just like they're trying to do in Europe and other parts of the world, whenever that happens, you fundamentally change this nation. Religious freedom, people may worship, preach, convert, and live by conscience. That's under the Constitution that we have now. The Constitution promotes religious freedom. Religious government, which is what Sharia law is, government enforces religious commands on everyone. So now, whenever you have Sharia law, it is the government that is in charge. It is the government that is in control. It is not the Constitution. And so whenever people say, well, we just need to let the Muslims come and we need to let the Muslims worship freely because this is the United States of America and we all have freedom of religion. And I agree with we have freedom of religion. But what you don't understand is the Muslims are not coming here because of freedom of religion. They already have freedom to worship freely where they're at. They're coming here to fundamentally change the United States of America. They want to conquer the United States of America. They cannot conquer this country by war. They don't have the military to conquer this nation by war. But what they will do is they will do exactly what they're doing in Europe, exactly what they've done in Egypt, exactly what they've done in Iran and other countries of the world, is they will come in and they will say, we're here to worship peacefully. We're Muslims and we want to worship our God just like you worship your God. And then they begin to grow in number. They begin to convert people. They begin to immigrate here to America like they've done in Michigan. And before you know it, they're electing senators and congressmen and governors and mayors. And they're electing House representatives, senators. They're representing sheriffs. And before you know it, you're going to have Sharia law. And Sharia law is much different than a constitution. It is religious government. And I believe that all of us, none of us want religious government. I do not want the government telling me that I have to go to a mosque. I'm not going. They can fly a kite. I'm not going to a mosque. I don't want a government entity telling me that I have to go to a Catholic church or to a Pentecostal church or to a Baptist church or to any church at all. I should be able to worship God freely under the Constitution that we have here in the United States of America. The Constitution allows the first. It forbids the second. The Constitution allows religious freedom. It forbids religious government. Sharia law is the exact opposite. Sharia law, it allows religious government and it forbids religious freedom. That is what Sharia law does. It is the exact opposite of the Constitution. And to try to get people to understand that and to see this, sometimes it can be very difficult. It can be hard. And so let's look at this. Where authority comes from? The U.S. system under the Constitution. The U.S. system, it starts with we the people. Civil authority comes from govern. Government is limited by a written constitution. The government is limited. The government cannot overstep it, or at least it's not supposed to overstep its boundaries. The government is not supposed to tell me how to worship God, where to go to church. The government is limited by the Constitution. Now, when you look at Sharia as civil law, now you're looking at a strict model. Ultimate authority comes from Islamic revelation. So it's coming from Muhammad. The ultimate authority, that's where it's coming from. It is coming from the Quran. And so it's just not governing their religious entity or their church. It is now governing the nation. Jurists interpret sacred sources. Law is not grounded in popular sovereignty. And so what that is saying is this, that the Constitution governs the United States of America. I go to a Baptist church and we have a Bible, and inside that church, we believe what the Bible teaches, and so we govern our church according to what the Bible teaches. We do not govern our nation according to what the Bible teaches. There are things that the government would allow that I necessarily don't agree with, but under the Constitution, they have that right. Let me give you an example. When it comes to abortion, I 100% oppose abortion. I think abortion is murder. I oppose it 100%. There are some states that allow it. And I would love to see those people. I mean, my personal conviction is I would like to see those people put in jail for murdering babies. But if you go to California, they have that right to murder a baby inside the womb of a mother. They are protected by that state, and they're protected by that state constitution, whatever that state law allows. That is how our Constitution works. Whenever it comes to, I don't get to tell everybody in America that they have to live by my rules. Like, I don't drink alcohol. But I can't tell you you can't drink alcohol. If you want to drink alcohol, you can drink it. I don't drink it. That's my personal conviction. I don't drink alcohol. If you want to go drink alcohol, you can, because we have that right as citizens. I cannot govern the nation based upon what I believe the Bible teaches. Underneath Sharia law, they will govern the nation based upon what the Quran teaches and what Muhammad, the revelation that came to Muhammad. They are not governing the nation by the Constitution. And so whenever they try to tell you that we're going to abide by the Constitution, they are lying to you. They are not going to, because they can't. They can't. Underneath the Quran, they cannot abide by the Constitution. They have their own set of laws and rules. Now, as long as they're in the minority, they will say, we're going to abide by your rules. But as soon as they become the majority, and they will become the majority if we don't do something, then they will begin to govern by Sharia law. And then this whole nation changes. The very fundamentals of this country changes. You talking about constitutional rights, they're gone because now Sharia law is in control. If Congress violates your rights, you can challenge it under the Constitution. In a religious law state, which is Sharia law, officials may claim they are enforcing divine law. You understand the difference? Underneath the Constitution, we have a right. Listen to me. Underneath the Constitution, and we'll talk about this later, if one of your elected officials is doing something that you don't like, go run against them and beat them. And you can change the law. Under Sharia, that's not how it works. You can't do that. You cannot, because they are operating under Islamic revelation, divine revelation that was given to Muhammad that is in the Quran. And so under Sharia law, you cannot operate as we would operate under the Constitution. Under Sharia law, you can't go run against somebody. Under Sharia law, you can't change the Sharia law because it's their law is coming from the Quran, which was given to them by divine revelation to their prophet Muhammad. And so, boy, there's so much here that I want to unpack, and we're going to spend a couple of podcasts on this. I'm just going to do just a few more minutes, and we're going to stop, okay? And then we'll come back and do another, because I really want you to understand the difference between the Constitution and Sharia law. Under the Constitution, you have freedom to change religion. Listen to me. I go to a Baptist church, but if Sunday I want to go to a Pentecostal church, I can. The next Sunday, if I want to go to a Catholic church, I can. Matter of fact, if I want to go to another Baptist church across town, I can. Because why? Because under the Constitution, I have that right. I have the freedom to change religion. Under the Constitution, the U.S. system, I have free exercise of religion. I may convert to another faith, to another religion, or if I want to just quit going to church altogether, I can. If I want to become an atheist, I can. The government cannot own your conscience. The government cannot control me. The government cannot tell me where I have to go to church. Now, I got to stop right here and take me a drink of my sweet tea. You may convert or leave a faith. Now, under Sharia law, which is a strict model, you cannot change. If you leave Islam, it's a serious offense. Not under the Constitution. If I want to convert to Islam, I can. Under the Constitution, if I want to leave Islam, I can. Under Sharia law, you cannot. You cannot. Some countries, and everyone that is under Sharia law, restrict conversion. That's why they have 97, 98% Muslim, because they restrict you converting. They won't allow it. You will get in all kind of trouble. I know people here in America that were Muslims that converted to Christianity, and their families write them off. Their families have a funeral for them, and they write them off. If one of my children were to convert to a different faith, I wouldn't have a funeral for them. They'd be welcome in my home as much as they want. Now, I don't want them to. I would like for them to stay in the faith that they grew up in. But if they convert, they have that right to convert. Not under Islam, not under Sharia law. Religious identity can and will become a legal issue. A Muslim becomes a Christian in America. The police stay out of it. Under Sharia law, under apostasy law, conversion can become a crime. It will become a crime under Sharia law. And I want you to understand that there's a major difference between Islam and Christianity, and there's a major difference between Sharia law and the Constitution. They are nothing alike. They are totally different. Now let's look at this, and then we'll stop here on number 3, and we'll pick up 4. I've got 4, 5, 6. I got a bunch of points, and then I got several other points on how it would change the nation fundamentally, and so we'll get into that as well. So, under the Constitution, you have free speech. Under the Constitution, I can criticize any religion. Under the Constitution, I can criticize my government. Under the Constitution, I can criticize President Trump. I can criticize the Senate. I can criticize my governor. I can criticize the mayor. I can criticize the Baptist faith. I can criticize the Pentecostal faith. I can criticize whatever faith I want to under the Constitution. I can criticize religious leaders. If I want to talk about religious leaders, I can. If people in my church want to talk about me, they can. There's nothing I can do about it under the Constitution. They can call me. They can criticize me. They can talk about me on Facebook. They can get up. They can do whatever they want under the Constitution. No American blasphemy laws. So I can talk about anybody that I want to talk about. I could talk about God. I could do whatever I want under the Constitution. I have that right. I have free speech about religion. Under Sharia law, under that strict model, blasphemy laws punish religious insult. You cannot talk about Islam. You cannot criticize Islam. Just go to Iran and try. Go to a country that is under strict Sharia law and try to criticize Islam and see what happens to you. You'll be in jail. You'll be in jail. You'll be in prison. Your speech may be limited by religious offense. Under Sharia law, it will be. Theology can become a criminal matter. You cannot worship God how you want. You cannot preach Jesus died on the cross and shed his blood and rose again on the third day. You cannot do those things under Sharia law. There's a major difference between Sharia and Christianity. Major difference whenever you look at the religions. You have free speech. One student says Islam is false. Another says Christianity is false. Under the First Amendment, both are protected. Did you read that? I'm going to read it to you again. One student says Islam is false. Another says Christianity is false. So you have one student saying Islam isn't right, one student saying Christianity isn't right. Under the First Amendment, both are protected. Under Sharia law, the one that is saying Christianity is right and Islam is false, under Sharia law, they are not protected. Not at all. There's a major difference between Islam and Christianity, and there's a major difference between Sharia and the Constitution. You see, under Islam and the Sharia law, they say to destroy all of the infidels, which are Christians, which are me. If I don't convert, then they say to destroy. Under Christianity, my Bible teaches me that if they don't convert, I'm to love them. So then some would say, well, then, Dan, why are you speaking out against them so much? And the reason is because they threaten our very existence. They want to change the Constitution. I have an obligation as a citizen of this great country to abide by and to withhold and to protect and to fight for the Constitution. And I also have an obligation as a Christian to love people, to try to witness to people, to tell people about Jesus. So I have that obligation as a Christian. And so as long as they are not trying to destroy the Constitution, and as long as they are not trying to destroy this country, I'm to witness to them, I'm to love them, I'm to try to witness and tell them about Jesus Christ. But the moment that they try to come in here and change the Constitution, as a citizen of this great country, I have an obligation to withhold the Constitution. And those people, ladies and gentlemen, need to be deported. They need to be sent back to whatever country that they came from. It's very simple. If you want Sharia law, then go to Iran. Don't come to America and try to change the Constitution. If you want Sharia law, go to Iraq, go to Egypt, go to another country where they already have Sharia law. Don't come here to America and try to change America and try to change the Constitution. There's a stark difference between the Constitution and Sharia law. I'm going to say this again, and then we're going to come back at another day. We're going to do another podcast tomorrow, and we're going to finish out. Under the Constitution, you have freedom. You have equality. You have rights. There's limited government. There's we the people. Under Sharia, there's religious rule. No free speech. The rights are not equal. There's government control. There's divine authority. Listen to me very carefully. I don't want Sharia law in America. I want us to remain under the Constitution. So we're going to continue to fight, stand, and educate people whenever it comes to the difference between Sharia law and the Constitution. It's going to make some mad. That's fine. It's okay. We're in America. You have every right to get mad. You don't have to watch this podcast. Why? Because you live in America. You could go to whatever church you want to go to, or you don't have to go to the church. Why? Because you live in America, and we are under the Constitution. But under Sharia law, you're going to be praying 5 times a day. Under Sharia law, you're going to be going to the mosque. Under Sharia law, you're going to be withholding to the Quran. I'm so thankful that we are not beholden to Sharia nor to the Quran. I'm so thankful that we have a Constitution. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. I would encourage you to share, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, or X, whether it's Instagram, whether it's YouTube, Rumble, wherever you're watching this, I would encourage you to share. It will help us get out our message on the difference, ladies and gentlemen, between the Constitution and Sharia law. Because, ladies and gentlemen, there is a major difference. May God bless you, and may God continue to bless the great United States of America as we fight and as we stand and as we protect the Constitution. May God bless you, and may God bless the great United States of America.